listen to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become a better leader. If you're new, we release a new episode every Wednesday. So glad you're here. And we're pumped about this day because today is going to be a new episode with a brand new title that I'm going to tell you in just a second. But before we do that, I want you to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and then also rate and review on Apple Podcasts. You won't believe how that helps get this in the hands of so many more leaders just like you trying to get better like us. Visit leadinghope.online to get updates and find out more about the Leading Hope community. Kevin, this is a fascinating title. I have been saying it the entire time we're getting ready for this.
Yes, you have.
Episode 235. I wanted to call it something else, but I'm going to get it right now.
Go.
Two-way doors.
Two-way doors.
That's got so many hidden meanings.
Are you familiar with this concept?
That doors swing both in and out?
There it is.
Yes.
So the concept came from Jeff Bezos. Well, I don't know if he originally came up with the concept, but like he's the first one I heard about it from. And so the idea was he was talking about decision making. And his point on there, and I just kind of wanted to bring this up for conversation because I think this is incredibly important. And it's one of those concepts that people like, you'll go, well, yeah, duh. But we actually don't operate within the reality of the concept, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the concept is that when you're making decisions, some decisions are one-way doors and some decisions are two-way doors.
Okay.
Some decisions that you make, you walk through and you can never come back.
Oh, okay.
Like as soon as you make the decision and it's executed, that is the new reality that you live in, and you forever have to live in that reality.
Yeah.
For other decisions, they're two-way doors. And once you make the decision, you can usually walk it back at any point in time.
Okay.
And granted, circumstances are slightly different than they were from the first time you made the decision, but the decision is not final by any means.
Okay.
And the problem comes in is that, like, so obviously, like, just basic pieces here is like two-way doors, those decisions should be made relatively quickly because you don't need all the information to make them because you could walk it back if it isn't working. One-way doors, you have to live with a long period of time. And so those decisions should be made slower, should have multiple pieces of input within them. They should be like more cautiously made and not making the decision until you actually necessarily have to make the decision. I could walk that back a little bit, but I feel pretty strongly about it.
Oh, good.
And what happens is that we treat most decisions like they're one-way doors. And we treat most decisions as if we have to get it absolutely right. And as soon as we make that choice, we can't ever redirect it or change anything about what we're doing.
It's good. I would ask the question just for someone with flawed thinking.
Go.
Like me. What would be the scenario of a one-way door? Because unless you're, to me, and this is just asking the question. There's no preconceived thing in this. Unless you like the decision kills you.
I was saying like this.
What couldn't you walk back?
So
you sell a company, you can buy it back.
View it like this. Maybe dating is a two-way door. Marriage is a one-way door. Granted, you can walk out of a marriage, but the reality is now fundamentally different than pre it.
Yeah.
And so it's not saying that there's never a decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure that the listener would understand fully where they would see themselves making a one-way decision so they understand
so
why
let me
two-way
say
are
it
better.
Yeah. If not that I can't ever change the decision that I've made.
Right.
But I can never re-enter the room that I was in.
Okay.
If I go, hey, we're going to easy scenario. I tell the team, hey, we're going to preach this series. And I decide 2 weeks later, I don't want to preach that series. I can literally walk right back into the same room, change that decision, and my reality isn't different at all.
Right.
If I say, we're planting a campus here, 2 weeks later, I change my mind and I come back in and make that decision, I am now dealing with a completely different reality than what I was 2 weeks prior.
Potentially. Yeah.
Well, the investment, the energy, the
Yeah.
excitement, there's probably been people named as leaders, other pieces. And now all of a sudden, like, it's a whole different.
I get it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair.
So if you say, like, big
Yeah.
corporate terms, to say buy a company versus sell a company.
yeah.
I mean, at scale, at a certain size, I understand how that's a two-way decision. But for most organizations, if that actually happens, like the room that you walk back into, is a different room. It's a different circumstance.
That's helpful for this discussion to define what that really is. So you're saying it's really, if I make this decision, a one-way door is that if I tried to walk it back, it's a completely rearranged environment.
Yeah. So
Much different.
example would be lobby setup for us is a two-way door. Church name is a one-way door.
Yeah.
Let's say different world. We had a really poor process on implementation. We named a church name that didn't fit our culture. It was poorly chosen, everything about it. We announced, this is the new church name. We got 2 months into it and went, this isn't working.
Yeah.
So get back up and go, never mind. My bad.
Yeah.
We're going back to this.
Yeah.
If I change it back, I am not in the world that I was in 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I'm in a completely different world.
I want to go so many places with this, but
Go
I don't
where you
know
want to
myself.
go. I'm
I
excited.
mean, COVID is a funny place to go because, like, do you know what I mean? Like, if we found things out as it went about, like, is that a one-way door or a two-way door?
If we found things out.
I'm just saying, I'm not picking any direction here. I'm saying in general, is that a one-way door? Can you back that out, or because you're already going that way, there's not an opportunity?
I
so those are the
would
things where
like to make the argument that
because we did a
most of the information in COVID was communicated as if it was final and absolute.
Yeah.
And these are one-way doors. And if it would have been communicated with we really don't know much, this is the best we can decide at this time.
This is what we're deciding because this is what we know now.
And it will change per the information we have.
Yeah.
This is the best decision we can make. As information changes, our decision might change. If it was communicated as a two-way door, it would have been much better received.
I think that's a great example of what we're trying to...
Can we acknowledge that the government views every decision as a one-way door?
Thank you.
But the problem is per... Well, this went in a direction I didn't expect it to, but this is fun.
But this is what I'm trying to get to in actuality is we really need to be two-way doors, not one-way door.
And I think that is the problem is not just like the government side of they view everything as a one-way door.
Right.
But most people view every decision they make as a one-way door. And
absolutely.
The problem is not just the stress that is created. The problem is also the opportunity that is lost. So if we can talk about like two perspectives. So like if it's a two-way door, make the decision fast. Because if you already have all the information, you've now lost the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like if it's a two-way door and you're 100% sure it's the right decision, you're now late. If you're like 70% sure, make the decision. Because you can always walk it back.
Yeah.
On there.
Yeah.
And so I just think that's so important from the personal side of just grasping, like, what type of a decision is this? And then I just need to make it quickly.
Yeah. You said most people are one-way door.
Yeah.
Decision makers, thinkers.
That's all they think.
Yeah.
They assume every decision is final.
Yeah.
And they don't realize they can reverse it.
Yeah. And that's because why?
I have no idea. That's a great question.
Thank you.
I don't think I'm smart enough to answer that question.
Yeah. No, it's fair.
There's a piece of me that goes, because they're unaware of this concept, I'm sure there's far deeper psychological roots to that in terms of what's actually taking place.
You're not going to enter into that the psychological part of this. I mean, there's a number of things, but the fact is that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And so for this podcast, what do you want people to consider?
I want people to be aware of the dynamic. I want people to be aware. I want people to be aware of the significance of one-way door decisions.
Yeah.
The time that should be invested in it, the input that you should receive in it. Like, one-way door decisions are massive, and so they should be made with multiple points of input, and they should be made with a great level of discernment. That doesn't mean forever, but those things do require time.
Yeah.
For two-way door decisions, you should be able to make them quickly because stress is created that is unnecessary and opportunity is lost.
Yeah.
And so it's this piece of to say, like, if you view one-way doors as two-way doors, you're dumb. And you're going to now live in a reality you don't want to live in. I don't think most people do that. So we haven't been stressing that part as hard. Maybe we need to.
Yeah.
On the other side, if you view two-way doors as one-way doors, you're now behind and you've stressed yourself out on stuff that is unnecessary.
I see that as the biggest problem.
I do too.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think what you and just because that's the bent, I think we might. Well, I will speak for myself. We might discount the fact that some people think everything's a two-way door.
Yeah, that's. I don't have that issue. So that's my. So I don't really know how to enter that mentality.
Yeah. Well, let me help you.
Go. I'm excited.
This is so, like, if someone's thinking that it's a two-way door, based on your criteria, which is it can be
in Jeff Bezos' criteria.
In Jeff Bezos,
just to be clear.
Jeff, can you give me a free Amazon account
Shout out to Jeff.
forever? And $1 million.
I was saying, if you actually have the opportunity right now, you're talking to Jeff, and you want the $25 Prime account per month.
It's $25 now?
I think so. I don't know. I don't pay our bills.
It's like, you have no idea. You guys could be paying. You could be paying $25 every 10 seconds and have no idea what it is.
Someone in my house knows.
Yeah. Probably
It's not
Emmy.
me.
It's Emmy. Emmy knows. Emmy knows for sure. Emmy, shout out, happy birthday. The thing that I think depends on where you might find yourself in an organization. Is where you may view whether, because a lot of people at the top will see everything as a two-way because they have a voice to roll back things.
Yep.
Whereas someone that actually has to implement or execute the plan wants more clarity so that they can execute the plan. So I go.
This is great. This is great.
I'm bent on the two-way because I want to be able to roll. I want to have that level of confidence that, hey, we want to make decisions early so we can get ahead.
Yep.
And be able to roll those back and switch direction. We have a term here called turn on a dime.
Yep.
We want to be able to use that effectively and on purpose for the times in which it's required.
Yep.
However, we can sometimes use that against ourselves when we didn't properly think out everything.
Accurate.
To execute. And I don't know if that's even maybe there's a 1.5-way door. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how much time? Here's a question for you, and I think that's a good dialogue. Do you, because what you're saying is, like, I need to be 70% right on this, or at least 70% think I can go on this, be two-way. Is there any time that you spend wrestling with someone about whether it's a two-way or one-way? Or does that defeat the purpose?
I think I probably have...
Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah. I think I probably have the liberty of just determining which one it is.
Yeah.
And my hope is that this language becomes common.
Yeah, no, this is great.
And we're able to grasp it. But I would say it as like service planning, as we're planning out worship services. That for me is a two-way door. There's another Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's never going to be perfect.
Right.
It's never going to. And I think sometimes when I get in conversations, people are like, no, it should be like this. And I'm like, cool, let's try it. And if it doesn't work, we won't ever do it again. And if it works, we've learned something.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes...
agree wholeheartedly.
People feel the pressure of, like, we've got to get this exact thing exactly right. And it's just like, there's too many variables. I don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a perspective. Yeah. I am willing. This is maybe the thing that's a little different about me. I am more than willing to try something that I do not think will work just to see if it actually works.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are like, I don't like it. I'm like, no, I want to see.
Yeah. And I think that's fair, and I think that's a good analogy too with the week-to-week type of thing. But I think sometimes we use that same hierarchy of thought for things that aren't week-to-week.
Keep going.
I don't have anything off the top of my head, so I don't have a good example. But I think that while we know this, I think sometimes that can be confused thoughts for things that aren't week to week. It's once a year.
Yeah.
We can't roll that back next week.
Yeah, that's correct.
But we're still thinking it's a two-way door.
Yeah,
And so
I
I'm trying to
understand that.
get to, in your mind, of how do we determine
Yeah.
in the moment, or maybe it's not in the moment, whether it's two-way or one-way.
If I give some other pieces.
And I know you've given examples, so I'm not expecting
No.
like this is a hard question because there's not a right answer. If there was, then they would all be two ways. Like
We've heard the phrase hire slow, fire fast.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
The problem for me is fire's a one-way door.
Yeah.
I want to keep that a two-way thing as long as possible.
Got it.
And so it's to go, let's try this. Let's try that. To a fault.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily, what I'm saying here is this is not necessarily wisdom.
No, right.
I'm just saying this is my wrestling
It's
with the
philosophy.
situation, because
Yeah.
anytime you let someone go, that's a one-way door.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
they're out.
Yeah.
And so I just go, no, I'm going to use every single means I can, every strategy I possibly have to make it work.
Yeah.
Till it's obvious that it won't work.
Yeah. And that's a decision tree that you go through for that. I mean, that's a process that you spend time on.
Yeah.
Maybe not that much time on, but it's what you're doing.
So I would say, like, naturally, what I'm hoping to communicate within this is naturally there's already a filter of two-way door, one-way door.
Right.
It's already there.
Yeah.
It just needs to be more widely integrated with how we view decisions.
Yeah.
Because just to be like, some things you don't need 10 people on a decision.
Agreed.
If it's a two-way door, make the decision.
Yeah.
Especially if there's time between when the decision is made and when the decision is implemented. Like, not only can it be reversed after, it can still be reversed in process.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I think we overestimate the importance of making the exact right decision in the moment.
Yes, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. More than time, because we want to be inclusive and we want to gather everyone for something that not everyone even would even consider their specialty.
Yeah.
To even add to.
Yeah.
But we want it just to, for what reason? Like, sometimes I'm not clued into why we would want to do that anyway.
Correct.
Especially if we can move forward now and not lose the opportunity while it's available. While on the other side, and I think I love this, especially something, I think reason I'm wrestling with it as we're speaking right now is how can I implement this?
Yeah.
Right? Which I'm hoping everyone who's watching these are also thinking with me right now, going, okay, I've got this one-way door and two-way door concept. How do I introduce this to the team? And then how do I help them see where to make that decision in the funnel?
Great.
In the funnel,
Great.
right? Because it's great to have a concept, but then I got to put it in practice.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I'm making a whole organizational decision that's going to affect the entire decision, I probably don't want to be 50% or 60% correct.
Correct.
That's an easy thing to decide up front.
Yep.
Right? I don't need to make this decision quickly.
Yep.
And I'm not just saying the two-way doors are always made quickly, but it sounds like that's pretty much the premise of it.
Well, and I think one of the pieces that is naturally implemented in most organizations is a spending limit without approval. It's saying, like, if you're spending over this amount, the size of the decision is enough that it affects us financially, that it is somewhat of a one-way door.
It's good.
Because if it's not a good return on investment, then
That's great.
we're in the hole.
Yeah.
If I give, like, other
What
stuff.
are some other things like that aren't monetary?
Well, I mean, that's organization. If I could just give, like, personally, like,
Sure.
your diet, this is a two-way door. Your workout plan, two-way door.
Yeah.
If it's not working, go do something else.
Yeah.
Which means doing something is better than doing the perfect thing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people get
great.
delay, and it's just like, well, I just don't know what to do. It's a two-way door. You can always change it. Do something.
It's great.
You're now ahead than finding the optimal thing that you should have to do.
That's great. That's moves the needle for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a statement that you can get behind.
Yeah. Decisions about culture that are long-lasting, finances that have long-range implications, and identity are always one-way doors.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything else is a two-way door.
Yeah.
Which means decide, move on, and adjust as is needed.
That's great. That's great. And I think that's where we'll leave it
I'm
today.
done.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Episode 235, Two-Way Doors. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it mean the world to us if you did that now. Also post about it, rate and review, or both. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of all the leaders like you trying to get better like us. We love hearing your stories of how the podcast is working in your life and business. If you have a story, visit leadinghope.online. And send that to us. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear the stories about one-way and two-way doors. It's an interesting topic, and see how you guys are implementing that. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count. Woo!